أعوذ بالله السميع العليم من الشيطان اللعين الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين. الحمد لله والحمد حقه كما يستحقه حمدا كثيرا. وأعوذ به من شر نفسي إن النفس لأمارة بالسوء إلا ما رحم ربي. والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء وسيد المرسلين خاتم النبيين سيدنا وحبيب قلوبنا وشفيع ذنوبنا أبي القاسم محمد. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين المطهرين المكرمين الذين أذهب الله عنهم الرجس وطهرهم تطهيرا. اللهم صل على محمد وآل محمد. السلام عليك سيدي ومولاي يا أبا عبد الله، وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا ما بقيت وبقي الليل والنهار، ولا جعله الله آخر العهد مني لزيارتكم. السلام على الحسين وعلى علي بن الحسين وعلى أولاد الحسين وعلى أصحاب الحسين جميعا ورحمة الله وبركاته. قال الله العظيم في كتابه الكريم وهو أحسن القائلين وأصدق الصادقين: بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن الله لا يغير ما بقوم حتى يغيروا ما بأنفسهم. آمنا بالله صدق الله العلي العظيم. For the purification of the souls, the enlightenment of the hearts, for the acceptance of the deeds, and for the hastening of the reappearance of the awaited Saviour, Ajrallahu Ta'ala Farajahu Sharif, enlighten your souls and the atmosphere with the recitation of salawat upon Muhammad wa Ali Muhammad. Respected elders, sisters and brothers in Islam, Salamun Alaikum wa Rahmatullahi Ta'ala wa Barakatuh. This is a key component and a process necessary for the success of human beings. It was an objective of the prophets and their successors, whereby they sought to establish it in society. And it is also a key result and an inspiration from the epic of Karbala and lessons from Ashura. Positive change or transformation in the lives of human beings is indeed a key component that you and I recognize to be important for the success of human beings. You and I understand that throughout the world today, and indeed when you examine history, whatever background you're from, whichever denomination you're from, this form of positive change or transformation in our lives has been recorded and demonstrated as one that is necessary. People who stagnate, people who do not change their habits, people who don't wish to develop and move forward are indeed those who will not progress. They will not necessarily see any fruits of their actions. That's why we find that around the world today, we have witnessed much change as far as all kinds of fields and disciplines in life. You look at the world of education, you look at the world of science, the world of medicine, you look at the world of politics, you look at every aspect of our lives, and there is much change that has occurred, isn't it? Throughout history of mankind, people have always sought to make a development over their practices. Similarly, you look at, for example, our condition and our state in as far as technology is concerned. Many of us are wondering, how is it that we lived 20 or 30 years ago without the internet, without our cell phones or mobile phones. This kind of change in society, not only has it made many of the processes efficient, it has saved lives, and it's also preserved resources. This is an important idea, an idea that is quite clearly established throughout mankind and different societies. Despite change that we have seen that is positive in society around us, as far as all aspects and facets, human development is still a struggle. What do we mean? Many of us today in the world would come forward and say, to change my habits is still a very major difficult task. Bad habits die hard, isn't it? People come forward and say that, for example, as far as weight loss is concerned, not eating healthy, as far as smoking is concerned, for example, as far as certain other practices and habits that people practice in society, for instance, addiction to alcohol or drugs. Some of these aspects, human beings are struggling. That's why you find so many help books, so many support networks, websites, clips on YouTube, helping and trying to somehow push the human being to make that change, to make that transformation, to make a difference in their lives going forward, and not to necessarily stall. As believers, we recognize that we are in this existence to seek the pleasure of Allah and to live a dignified life so that we attain success in akhirah. But we are confronted with two powerful aspects that sometimes halt our progress. One of them is the shaitan. The other is our souls. Many a times when we wish to make a difference, it is those two aspects that stand between us and making a change in our lives. That is why when we come to examine this aspect, you recognize that there are people who say, as far as my spiritual progression is concerned, as far as my practice of religion is concerned, I'm, to be honest with you, struggling, they say. For example, I find it difficult to wake up for Fajr prayers. For example, I find it difficult to change the channel when something comes up that I'm not supposed to look at. I find it challenging not listening to something that my friends are listening to, or engaging in activities that I'm not supposed to be engaging. Help me. I need assistance, people say. I want to change, but I don't know how to change. I want to make a difference in my life. I want to move on, but I don't see how. This spirit exists in the minds of some of our youth and others today, where they are desperate for a spark. They are desperate for some motivation and inspiration. I want to make that jump towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, but I find it difficult. Enter Ashura, Karbala, and the inspiration of Sayyid al-Shuhada, Aba Abdullah al-Husayn salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Every year in Muharram, all around the world, people from different backgrounds and denominations, from different cities and villages and countries, from countries such as Mexico and Costa Rica, to countries in Africa such as Zimbabwe, Majalis of Aba Abdullah al-Husayn are a great form of demonstrating our love, loyalty and devotion to the principles and the values that he stood for, and he sacrificed his life. Indeed, the name Hussein and the tragedy of Karbala and Ashura mean much to you and I. These majalis are a wonderful occasion whereby people seek that energy, seek that positivity, seek that collective spirit in the name of what? In the name of the remembrance of the tragedy of the 10th of Muharram. You recognize that Aba Abdullah al-Husayn, his family and his companions, they died thirsty. They were patient thirsty, but they continuously till today quench the thirst of those who seek to get better and improve themselves. You recognize that Husayn ibn Ali on the 10th of Muharram wrote on the sands of Karbala the constitution for the freedom of mankind. Then he signed it with his blood and the blood of his family and his companions. For that's why he is the father of the free. You recognize that when you name and you call and you utter the name Hussein, it projects to you that wonderful realization of a better world. A realization that brings about dignity, honor, sacrifice, freedom, human values, human rights. The name Hussein encompasses all this and indeed more. That is why our ulama come forward and say that there is something special when the time of Muharram comes about. When we are commemorating these nights, nobody around the world is forced to attend majalis. Yet the numbers are increasing. Millions upon millions in so many corners of the planet chanting and calling out the name of Hussein. In Karbala, millions gather on the Arba'in, millions walk in order to honor the university of values that is Karbala. I tell you, this university had a master, had a head teacher by the name of Hussein ibn Ali, had teachers who were the companions and the family of the Ahlul Bayt. And you and I are desperate to be signed up as students, are desperate to seek that light, that spark, that added encouragement that will indeed help us. When we examine this movement of Imam al-Hussein, peace and blessings be upon him, we recognize that the time of Muharram and the time of Ashura and these majalis are a wonderful opportunity for a new transformation, for positive change. This change that you and I are seeking to implement in our lives. Some people ask the question, why do I need to change? I am very happy. I'm very content with whatever I have. This is quite a common trend in society, isn't it? You find people who are willing to accept whatever they have, as far as, for example, their careers are concerned, as far as their spiritual strength is concerned, as far as the state of the community and society is concerned. Why should I make that active work to change? This word change is scary for a lot of people. They say, you know what, I'd like to stay as I am. People are more comfortable to continue under the status quo or under the processes that have already become habitual, isn't it? If you look around us, we recognize that as human beings, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, intellectually at the first level, if we think about it, has ingrained within us the desire to have something different and to indeed experience different elements in life. I tell you, will you be satisfied to eat the same food every single day? Will you be satisfied to wear the same clothes every day? Will you be satisfied if you have one season throughout the year? Will you be satisfied or happy or enjoy doing one activity throughout the whole year? Human beings are always looking for something different, something to give them an inspiration, something to give them something to look forward to, isn't it? We have different foods and we have different cultures and we have different clothing. Human beings seek alteration and variation of many aspects of their lives. And therefore, naturally, we are intertwined, somehow engineered and created by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to seek something better. We are not happy as human beings intrinsically to accept whatever's being given to us. We always want something more. Even those who are rich and affluent, that Allah has blessed them with wealth, they are continuously looking to invest. They are continuously looking to get more wealth, because human being is not someone who is satisfied with whatever they have. That's the first level. But when it comes to Islamic teachings, they encourage us never to think about stopping the progression and working for a better life. In which way? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran, numerous verses in Islamic teachings in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Holy Ahlul Bayt highlight the need for you and I to instigate change, to move, to progress. What do we mean? Look at the Quran. Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala comes forward and says that what? وَمَا أُوتِيتُم مِّنَ الْعِلْمِ إِلَّا قَلِيلًا. What knowledge that you have is not much, that you need to keep looking for it. You need to keep searching for it and acquiring it, isn't it? The other element that is found in the world of hadith, for example, to encourage us to say that enough is enough. I don't like my state. I want to improve. we have a narration from the seventh holy Imam, Imam Musa ibn Ja'far al-Kadhim, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. من استوى يوماه فهو مغبون. Anyone whose 2 days, today and tomorrow, are the same is what is doomed. Is doomed meaning your tomorrow must be better than your today. In the idea that the human being should always be seeking to improve themselves, isn't it? Similarly, what do you find? Similarly, you find dua makarimul akhlaq. This amazing dua, which is from the holy fourth Imam, Zayn al-Abidin al-Sajjad, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad, it says at the beginning. And what? And allow me to increase my iman. Waj'al li afdal al-yaqeen. Grant me better conviction and certainty in my heart. Imam alayhi salam, in this wonderful constitution of morals, asks us, wants us to ponder, am I satisfied with my current state, or should I be always improving? Am I just somebody who is lethargic, who is lazy, who is laid back, who is just not concerned about increasing and improving my situation? All aspects of my life should be what? Should be improving. When I look at my aspects in my life, you may ask the question, what are examples of things that I need to improve? Individually, as a community, or society? You and I would be able to bring about a whole list of things. For example, individually, personally, I may be somebody who is weak before temptations. I may be somebody who unfortunately lies or backbites. I may be somebody who doesn't understand the merits of Salatul Layl, or indeed acts of worship that are recommended. Maybe I am not someone who enjoys reading the Quran. Maybe I dislike reading the Quran. Yes. These are aspects that I need to change. What about the way I speak to people? What about the way I interact with other human beings? How about my akhlaq? Is my akhlaq good, or does it need to change for the better? I heard that, mashallah, some of our brothers, may Allah bless them here in this blessed community, they're serving the mu'mineen and mu'minat at the parking. They miss out on the majalis, they miss out on taking part. But sometimes it is said that people, when they come to park their cars, they are not respectful to them. They are not indeed honoring their sacrifice. They get angry with them. They lose their temper. Am I as an individual need to work as far as my anger is concerned? These are areas that I need to examine. For example, when I look at the community, how have I perceived, for example, within the community, certain aspects of the religion of Islam? Have I placed cultural practices over the religion of Islam? You ask me and you say, give me an example. One example that we have is in the institution of marriage. Today, there are people who come forward and wish to get to know each other. According to Islamic law, it's permissible, and then they wish to get married. The moment they wish to get married, their parents come forward and said to them, you know what, wait a minute. They say, what? Maulana, we have to call the Maulana. Why are you calling the Maulana? Maulana, salamun alaikum, alaikum salam. Can you please do an istikhara? Istikhara for what? This is how we've always done it, Maulana. All our lives, our forefathers, the ones before, we have to do istikhara. Can I ask you a question? Is your daughter and this brother compatible? Have they got together and the families are happy? Yes, alhamdulillah, Maulana. Everything is good about the daughter or this particular boy. Everything is good. We love the family, the Shia, everything is fine. But you know, istikhara, please. Who told you you should do an istikhara at this position? Does this need to change or not? Is this something that I'm content and happy with or not? Or in some communities, brothers who are, mashallah, good akhlaq, they have good mannerism, good iman, good reputation in the community. They come forward, they wish to propose for a particular lady, for a particular sister. The father comes forward and says, can I ask you a question? Because the Prophet of Islam says what? You have to ask that they have two things. Man ja'akum man tardawna deenahu wa khuluqah. Religion and akhlaq. But sometimes some of our brothers, they come forward and say, the first question is, you have to pass this, this examination. You have to pass this tick, therefore you can continue and then maybe get to know my daughter. Are you Sayyid? Excuse me? Are you Sayyid or not? Why? Because we are Sayyid family. We don't give our daughter except to a Sayyid. According to which Islamic law? Don't tell me about Islamic law. This is what we have been doing. Subhanallah. Quran comes and says so many prophets came and said to their communities, worship Allah, don't worship idols. Do you know what the response was? That is what our forefathers used to do. We're sticking to it. We are happy because our grandfather and the ones that came before worshipped these idols. The Prophet said, wake up. This is not right. Just because people of the past have done something doesn't mean you have to do it. History repeats itself. Do I need to change in those aspects or not? Yes. I need to look in those opportunities that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has granted me and make those progressions, make those leaps forward. Similarly, for example, as a community, what is it that we need to progress? In examples, these are so many areas that we can look at. The way we deal with our women, the way we have have somehow created an image of the role of women in Islam or the role of women in Muslim society or in our communities or in our centers. Have we empowered our sisters? Have we given them the voice? Have we respected them the way they should be? Or is it that we're still, for example, in our own mindsets, in our own ways of dealing with this very significant, important segment of society? Another key area perhaps that we need to change is today we have a major global crisis as far as what is known as plastic pollution is concerned. Do you know how many tons, millions, 300 million tons of plastic in the United States every year is what? Is taken to landfills. And do you know how long it takes for this plastic, these bottles, plastic bottles, to decompose? 500 years. 500 years when it's placed on the... And do you know the devastation that's causing towards animals, towards the creation of Allah, towards, for example, the oceans and the seas? How you and I are contributing to global warming. Are we worried about the environment or not? Is it something that I should change in my life, in my practice, at home or in the community? Should I stop using plastic? May Allah bless some of our Shia communities this Muharram. And I will say it honestly. They've decided, one major center in London, they said this year we are not allowing anyone or not distributing any of these plastic cups or these plastic bottles. You want chai? Bring your mug from home. Major community in London. Thousands of people. I don't know how it's gone. I haven't heard any rebellion yet. But people have to wake up and realize this is our earth. This is our country. These are our resources. We mustn't just think it's nothing to do with me. They keep talking about a crisis. Look at the Amazon forest. It's been burning for weeks. It's creating so much problems around the world for you and I, for the air that we breathe. Yes. The realization is, I need to wake up and I need to realize there are many of these aspects in my life that I have to change. I have to make a difference. And the greatest moment, arguably, is the 10th of Muharram, is these majalis. They are the spark. They are the catalyst. They are the push that you and I need to instigate that very important reformation process. People ask the question, how do I change? Where do I begin? What are the recommendations that you may give me? Because yes, maybe I have many aspects of my life that I have identified that I need to change. Let's look at this subject briefly and answer the following questions. Number one, what has science and behavioral experts come forward and given as far as models for human behavior so that humans can change? Number two, Islamic teachings. What do they say? How do I begin and how do I make a difference to myself, my community, and my society? Number three, specifically Ashura and Imam Al-Husaini. Peace and blessings be upon him. How can lessons from this epic incident and major event in history make a difference to my life? But in order to answer these questions, I need to realize at the outset a very important realization. I cannot, and please understand this, I will not be able to be an effective tool for change in society or in my community if I do not begin by introspectively looking at myself and changing myself. Quran says, Surah Al-Ra'd, verse number 11, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُغَيِّرُ مَا بِقَوْمٍ حَتَّى يُغَيِّرُوا مَا بِأَنفُسِهِمْ. Those who know Arabic will realize that the word ma, yes, is a tool to say that this sentence that we are about to mention is exclusive, in the idea that it is confined, in the idea that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says that verily, surely Allah does not change the condition of the people until they change that which is in themselves. Change begins from within, introspection, self-awareness. What do we mean? I deal with many marital conflicts, disputes, breakdowns in marital relationship between husband and wife. Often when I see the husband and wife, many of them, they come forward and say, in order for this marriage to work, I need my wife to change. I need my husband to change. For example, one of them said, I need my wife to start cooking better, biryani that my mother cooks. I need her to change, to improve. Yes, I'm fed up of the type of food that she cooks, as one of the reasons that they're having arguments continuously. A lady, a wife would come forward and say, I want my husband to change. I want him, for example, to express more love towards me. I want him to pay more attention to me. I want him to spend more time with me. I want him to show love through gifts, for example. I want him to stop being angry. These are always the case, isn't it? When we have a conflict, people are looking at the other person and saying, once you make all those changes, then everything will be fine. This is wrong. Because in marriage and in other forms of relationship, when you and I expect others to change, this may not materialize. The idea should be, I will change. Hopefully through the change that is seen within me, that reflects on the other person. That we should always look at ourselves first. Why and how is it that I am causing these problems in my marriage? Maybe my behavior is not right. Maybe the way I'm treating my husband or the way the husband's treating the wife is not right. Usually, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, of course, places love in the hearts of the husband and wife. And usually when people make that positive transformation in their own lives by introspectively examining themselves, this will make a positive impact in their relationship with others. Let's have a look at a few models. Few behavioral experts and those psychologists that have come forward and studied human behavior have proposed a number of models on how change should take place. Please understand this, because the member of Husaini is a member of learning, is a member of change, is a member of transformation, and we wish to use the tools that are presented today for us to make that active decision. There is a book that has sold hundreds of thousands of copies by an individual who is a New York best-selling author. He is a business writer. His name is Charles Duhigg. This book is very interesting and it is recommended for you and I to read this. What is this called? It's called The Power of Habit. Why we do what we do and how to change. Why we do what we do and how to change. In this book, the author comes forward and says the following. He says humans generally do things because it has developed into habits. 40% of the brain, 40% of the time that you and I live or do things, 40% of it is because we have turned into automatic machines. Things happen and we do things because it has become habitual. Our brain has become a mass of habits. He says, in order to change, we have to change habits. Habits, yes, are something that human beings pick up. But the argument that's given is the following. Where and how do we begin to change habits? I have certain habits in my life. How do I make a difference to them? How do I change them? There is a suggestion. There are studies that have been presented that say the basal ganglia tissues in our brain are responsible for what is known as the habit loop. Please understand the following. Slightly technical, but very useful. The habit loop consists of 3 stages that make a habit something that the brain begins to accept and automatically locks. So human beings begin to do it without necessarily decision-making process. They start to do it automatically. The first thing in a habit loop is a cue. A cue is a trigger that makes the brain somehow go into automatic lockdown. Something that makes us understand that this is going to be part of the habit. I'll give you an example in a minute. The next part is what? Routine. Routine can be emotional, can be physical, and can be what? Can be mental. And the third part of this particular habit loop is called reward, where the brain registers and sees, is this act something good to continue to do or no? For example, there are people out there, for example, that have a habit that, for instance, after they finish food, normal lunch or dinner, they have a dessert. The cue for this habit is that they soon have finished the dinner or lunch. The idea of the routine is that it's already always done every day, and the reward, the signals that are sent to the brain is that this tastes sweet, it's nice. So the brain locks it, and it becomes more and more automatic. And unfortunately, what happens is, the more and more we lock ourselves into this habit loop, the more we are not necessarily in control of our actions. So the suggestion is given is what? If we wish to break the habits to something that's better, we must change the cue and change the reward. And therefore, the routine, if you can imagine it, one connected to the other, cue, routine, reward. One connected to the other. What do we need to do? The cue and the reward we change, therefore the routine would change. You say, give me examples. People say, I'm struggling to go to the gym. I'm struggling to exercise. What is recommended is to have a cue. For example, every morning, before you go to work and whatever, make a commitment that, you know what, this is my cue, I'm going to go to the gym. Now, the reward yourself for doing this. So say I'll have a smoothie, or I'll have something at the end. So the brain begins to what? Begins to look for immediate results of gratification. That will change the routine, will ensure that you do this positive step time after time. Let's take an Islamic example. You will not find it in Charles Duhigh's book, of course. For example, people say, I'm not able to perform Salatul Layl, Namaz Hashem. This act of devotion of Allah, towards Allah, is so brilliant and so magnificent that the Quran says you can never imagine the rewards that you will gain by performing Salatul Layl. Because people are asleep and you are at night remembering Allah. And the narration says that Allah will show you off to the angels and say, oh my angels, look at my servant. His body is on my earth. His soul is with me. Bear witness that I have guaranteed paradise for them. This wonderful process and communication with Allah that takes place at night, which is the best time to speak to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and all times are available for human beings, but there are optimal times. When I wish to pray Salatul Layl, how do I use the habit loop? I need to have a cue. What does that mean? It means that I need to say, after Salatul Isha, I will pray Namaz Shab. You ask me, is this allowed? I say, yes. Or ulama say, if you can't wake up after midnight or before Fajr, then it is something that you should be doing after Salatul Isha. Do your Salatul Layl. Now, reward yourself for doing Salatul Layl. You might say, what shall I reward yourself? I leave that for you to decide. You might somehow consider yourself to be what? An individual who gains something if you perform a certain number of Salatul Layl. This is something that is useful. And it is a model that's been shown either for positive habits or to break negative habits. If negative habits are happening because of a cue and a certain reward, then I need to change that cue and I need to change the reward. And therefore the routine will change. That's one model. Another model, before describing this model, there are people who at the back don't have space. Can I ask you to move forward with the remembrance of the holy 12th Imam, Sahib al-Asr wa zaman, Ajjal Allah Ta'ala, Farajahu Sharif. There is much space here. Please move forward. This is recommended in the Quran. It's there in the Quran. If you make space for people in majalis, Allah will give you a space in Jannah. Allah. Yeah. Another model that is being presented today as far as how we can make that change is concerned is what? Is the realization that as human beings, sometimes we do things because we're warned about the consequences of not doing it. What do you mean? If we want people to do things sometimes, or our children to make a change in their lives, we tell them, if you don't do it, then this will happen, isn't it? Today, for example, there's been a campaign of placing images on the packets of cigarettes to try and warn people that if you smoke, this is what's going to happen to you. Scientific research has shown that this is not necessarily effective. Why? There was one experiment that it was published in the American Journal of Infectious Control. It said that in a hospital here in the United States, what they did was they wanted all the staff to wash their hands with soap thoroughly before seeing the patients. So they installed a camera. And the staff knew that the camera is watching them and to see how many wash their hands, because the camera would then hold them accountable, isn't it? Only 10% improvement was seen through a period of time when it comes to staff washing their hands. What did they do? They removed the camera. Instead, they had a chart. A chart which then points to what? How many times people do this, and made the comparison between different compartments and departments. This increased the washing of the hands 90%. Why? Scientists came forward and said, human behavior changes through positivity, not negativity. The more you are able to look forward to something, instead of warning, give glad tidings. Instead of scaring, give hope. Yes? Many a times this would work because human beings desire that which is better. And so, if we are somehow fixated about frightening ourselves and negativity, we lock down. And this lockdown limits our progression, limits our movement. That's another theory. A third theory comes forward and says, do you want to change in your life? Then you have to do it collectively with others. And you have to somehow motivate people that when you make this change, you are part of a group of people who have made this change. The United Kingdom wanted people to pay their taxes. So what did it do? It sent letters to people and said 90% of people pay their taxes on time. They saw that when they introduced this sentence in the letter, more people paid their taxes because they don't want to be left out. They want to be part of the 90%. They want to be part of a larger group. This is a number of suggestions that have been presented as far as what? As far as you and I are concerned, learning how to change. Islamically, you might come forward and ask, are there recommendations in Quran and Sunnah on tips that I can instigate in my life so that it becomes better, so that I don't stagnate, so that I develop myself? The first area is this, that we should consider change in our lives a step-by-step progressive movement, not something that we expect to happen overnight. What do you mean? That many a times we overburden ourselves. Many a times we think that I have so many of these problems. Muharram comes, I don't improve. Ramadan comes, I don't improve. I go to Hajj, I don't necessarily improve. I go for ziyarah, things don't change in my life. Maybe I'm overburdening. Maybe I'm overstraining myself. Therefore, I need to take these small steps, baby steps towards change. Maybe identify one area of my life that needs to be made better, and then make a conscious decision. Number two, understand that change in our lives happen through asking Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It is highly recommended, any area in our lives that I want to improve, begin by supplicating to Allah. Allahumma ghayyir su'a halina لحسن حال. Ya Allah, change my badness into goodness. So dua is necessary. Number three, I should want to change sincerely for the sake of Allah, not because of human beings, not because of pleasures of this world. If I am truly mukhlis and sincere, and I want to make that jump and difference in my life, Allah will give me barakah and will support me. That ikhlas is of the utmost importance. Number 4 of a high recommendation in Islamic teachings is what? Start young. It is much more difficult to change when you're older, isn't it? When you're younger, some of our mu'mineen, brothers and sisters, believe that they will become more religious or more closer to Allah when they're older. When they're younger, youthful age, they waste their time. They hang around and they miss their ibadah and they don't improve their understanding of religion, thinking falsely, given a false sense of security and premise by shaitan, that when you're older, you'll be fine. When you settle down, things will work for you. It is of the utmost importance that we recognize that youthfulness is an important factor for positive development in our lives, isn't it? Similarly, other recommendations that have been presented is seek advice and consultation. Amir al-Mu'mineen wa Mawla al-Muttaqeen Ali ibn Abi Talib salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. He says, "Ma khaba man istashar." If I have a problem in my life, I want to change before I change the community. Yes, I need to make those stages. Should I completely become a perfect person before instigating change in community? Of course not. There are fundamental aspects in my life that I must recognize, that I must improve. But that doesn't mean I withdraw from the community and I don't help out with changes that needs to take place. Yes? Amir al-Mu'mineen says, anyone who seeks advice will not be disappointed. You should seek counsel, especially from the elders, especially from those who have expertise. Another tip that is key for positive development and improvement of our lives is accept criticism. Accept feedback from people. I always say that we don't give enough feedback to ulama and speakers. Every Muharram that comes, speakers come and people sit, listen, go home, do aza. But we don't necessarily tell them, this topic was good, this topic was not, your delivery needs improvement. Why are we afraid of feedback and criticism? Imam Ja'far ibn Mohammad al-Sadiq salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi, who is ma'soom, and he says the following. He says, Rahimallah imra'an ahda ilayya uyubi. May Allah's mercy be upon the one who gifts me my shortcomings. Imam does not have shortcomings, but he's teaching you and I that one of the best gifts we can give each other as believers, are mirrors for each other, is constructive criticism and feedback in order to improve. If I'm not willing to accept a brother's honest opinion about what I'm doing, how many times have you gone to a close friend of yours or family member and have said to them, brother, sister, mother, father, tell me, what is wrong with me? One brother said, if I tell my parents, they will start till tomorrow morning. But it's fine. If they have comments on observations about my behavior, why am I feeling threatened? This is an opportunity for me, because many a times I'm self-defensive. So many times I push away. I don't necessarily diagnose my problems. Why not? I should ask others to help me to diagnose my challenges. Another key thing that is very much recommended within our teachings is not to give up, to continuously struggle, to continuously work hard, and not necessarily somehow think that no, this positive change can never happen in my life, this progression, I can never do it. Yes, giving up is not something that Islamic teachings necessarily recommend. And another key aspect of great importance is what? Utilize whatever blessing Allah has given you for positive change. What do we mean? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala puts us through hardship, this is a great chance for us to improve ourselves. People suffer. People go through calamities. People go through difficulties. Yes? How many times you and I have recognized, when I go through hardship, this is a wonderful opportunity for me to become a better human being. Maybe this hardship is rinsing me and cleansing me away from my sins. Maybe it's a chance, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala opening the door for me and to saying, come, I'm shaking you. I'm making a difference in your life that you're what into this routine, something has happened in your life, you lose a loved one, God forbid you're in an accident, you don't get the grades in your examination that you seek, you lose something. All these are triggers. All these are wake-up calls. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran says, they are for you to know your weaknesses and strengths. Therefore I should use them and not sink even further. I should utilize them. I should be empowered through them. The question that people ask is, how does Aba Abdullah and the story of Karbala and the lessons from Ashura help me to change? Please understand the following. Ayatullah al-Uzma, As-Sayyid al-Shaheed Mohammad Baqir al-Sadr, Ridwanullahi ta'ala alayh, one of our great maraja, philosophers and thinkers, who indeed attained martyrdom in 1980. He has a number of lectures on the condition of the people at the time where Imam alayhi salam rose. What do we mean? He says that there was a moral disease instigated by Bani Umayyah that had spread throughout the Muslim Ummah, and that is called ضعف الإرادة, weakness in terms of will and determination to change. What do we mean? He cites a number of examples. Please understand these examples. Number one, Amir al-Mu'mineen had a number of sons. One of them, his name is Umar al-Atraf. Yes? Umar al-Atraf came to Abu Abdullah al-Hussein and said to him, brother, don't go and fight Yazid because he'll kill you. Imam alayhi salam rejected what he has said. People like Abdullah ibn Abbas, Abdullah ibn Umar ibn al-Khattab, yes. Others, Abdullah ibn Zubayr, who came forward and said to the Imam, don't rise. This is not a good time. It is not something that's going to be successful. Others who were sincere, good people, like Muhammad ibn al-Hanafiya, Salama Ridwanullahi ta'ala alayhim, they gave and asked an Imam and told him, don't rise. These are all indications that people were what? Were happy with the status quo. They don't want things to change. They didn't have the willingness to break the shackles that they were placed under. That's number one. Number two, Imam alayhi salam sent letters to 6 leaders in Basra. And he sent it through a man by the name of Sulaiman ibn Razin, his ambassador to Basra. How many of the 6 leaders of tribes in Basra submitted and agreed with the Imam? Only one. Mas'ud al-Shamahdi. And others did what? Said, no, sorry, we're not interested. And do you know what happened? Imam alayhi salam sent one of his other envoys, and this envoy in Basra was then arrested by a Shi'i, who was then sent to Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad, who Ubaidullah ibn Ziyad executed him. Weakness in resolve. Number 2. Number 3, Imam alayhi salam on his journey to Karbala, he stopped in a place known as Qasr Bani Muqatil. When he stopped there, he said, who's there in a tent? They said to him, it's a man by the name of Ubaidullah ibn al-Hurr al-Ju'fi. Ubaidullah had fought against Amir al-Mu'mineen in Safi. Imam alayhi salam sent him a person from his own tribe. That man went to him, entered the tent, and said, I have come to you with a gift from Husayn ibn Ali. He said, really? What is the gift? He said, join us and you will attain success in Akhirah and in this world. Ubaidullah said, the very reason why I left Kufa was to avoid Hussein. What are you talking about? I'm not interested. This man went back to the Imam, whom the ambassador of the Imam, and said, Yabna Rasulullah, Ubaidullah doesn't want to fight. Imam said, then I'll go to him. Look at the heart of Hussein. He went to this man. He entered with a group of people. Ubaidullah welcomed him. Ubaidullah looks at him and says, Ya Hussein, what is it that you bought? What is it that you've come here for? He knows. Imam alayhi salam says, I have come to give you salvation. I've come to save you because you have so many sins. You fought against us in Safi. Purify yourself. Ubaidullah says, Wallah, I know, O Hussein, that fighting with you is eternal happiness and sa'adah. But I can't leave my family and I don't want to die. What I can do is give you my horse. Very fast horse. He will help you. Imam says, I am in no need of your horse. And if you're not going to help us, then run away from here and do not hear our cries. For anyone who hears our cries and does not support us, Allah will place them in the pits of Jahannam. Now, This was another example. Another example is whom? On the plains of Karbala, Habib ibn Mudahar al-Asadi goes to his tribe, Bani Asad. He says to them, "O Bani Asad, come and support the grandson of the Prophet. The son of Ali and Fatima is waiting for you. Do you want to support him?" They said, "No, we will remain neutral. Sorry. Khuda Hafiz." They go. They left him. Yes. In Kufa, what happened in Kufa? 4,000 of the Shia, or 4,000 of the people rather, were with Muslim ibn Aqil. He surrounded Qasr al-Imara. You know how many were with Ubaidullah bin Ziyad inside? 30. Maximum 100. 4,000 outside. Muslim ibn Aqil says, "That's it, we're charging." Women came, the wives, others. "I beg you, I want you to stay." So people began to what? Withdraw gradually. Ubaidullah started to pay them. Yes, they withdrew. Han ibn Urwa radwanullahi ta'ala alayh, Muradi from the Bani Murad tribe, he was arrested by Ubaidullah bin Ziyad because he hosted Muslim ibn Aqil in his house and he was protecting him, looking after him. Han ibn Urwa said, "My tribe will free me." 4,000 of them came on another occasion. They stood outside and said, "Where is our leader, Hani?" They were told, "Hani's alive, don't worry, he's fine." They said, "Okay, very well, he's alive, Khuda Hafiz." They went. Ajib. You study history and you think, what is going on? How people were suffering with weakness in determination to make a difference. They were happy with all that's happening. They lacked the willingness to make a positive change in society. And how amazing that you see that this Ayatollah Shahid al-Sadr himself, he wrote and says, "People, wake up. If you don't wake up, you will see disastrous consequences." He wrote this. He was martyred on the 9th of April 1980. The despot, tyrannical dictator Saddam himself slaughtered him, and indeed put his sister Amina al-Sadr bint al-Huda, dissolved her in acid. 9th of April 1980, 9th of April 2003, 23 years later, to the day of the Shahada of Ayatollah Baqir al-Sadr, Saddam's regime collapses. It's not a coincidence. Not a coincidence. Yes, he realized he needed to awaken the masses. Therefore, he sacrificed himself. Yes, in the footsteps of his grandfather, Sayyid al-Shuhada, Aba Abdullah al-Husayn, salawatullahi wa salamu alayhi. You ask me, how does Hussein change me? How does Karbala instigate the process of change? I'll tell you, number one, these majalis. When you hear something, when you ponder over something, when you attend with your mu'mineen brothers and sisters collectively, this collective participation in the Aza of Hussein is so powerful. It's such a brilliant instigator for a better life, for a better progress. Yes, you will see wonders in the majalis of Hussein. You know, you may ask, is there support from this in the Quran? I said to you, yes. The magicians at the time of Musa alayhi salam, when they came before Musa alayhi salam, do you know what made them change? Yes, it's the words of Musa, it's the actions of Musa, it's being there. They witnessed the miracle. Immediately they went down into sajda. قَالُوا آمَنَّا بِرَبِّ هَارُونَ Musa wa Harun. We are believers in the Lord of Musa and Harun. You and I, when we come to these majalis, it plants in our hearts the seeds for change. We just need to flower it. We need to water it. There is barakah. There is malaika praying for us. There is malaika doing istighfar for us when we shed a tear for Abu Abdullah. Yes, that's number one. Number two, emotional connection to Imam al-Hussein through Azadari is a very powerful process to make human beings awakened. What do we mean? Today, if I was to give you a scenario, if someone was to tell you, you go to a room, and inside this room there is a dead body. A dead body 100%. And there is a request from you that you should sleep in that room overnight. Just in the room. There is a dead body there. Would you do it? Most people will not do it. Why? Not because they watch a lot of Hollywood. Yes? Why would they not do it? This is a dead person. He will not harm you. A dead person will not rise. Only in the movies they rise. Yes? But why am I not willing to sleep or be in the same room for a long time over somebody who's left this world? Because the heart, yes, the heart tells me no. The brain tells me it's okay. There is a battle between the heart and the brains. In the displaying of emotions, Aza of Aba Abdullah al-Husayn, we are told of its significance and importance through the words of the Ahlul Bayt, isn't it? You recognize throughout the year, on the night of Qadr, for example, on 15th of Sha'ban, for example, yes, on so many instances there is a recommendation, mention Aba Abdullah, do ziyarah of Husayn, continuously, because Husayn is the factor for change, yes? The religion of Islam, the Ahlul Bayt want us to improve, to become better. That is why there is so much recommendation to do ziyarah of Aba Abdullah's shrines. That is why the narration of the fifth Imam says that on the day of Qiyamah there will be so many people who will have so much remorse and they wish that they had committed and performed the ziyarah of Aba Abdullah al-Husayn. On the day of Qiyamah, yes, there will be people who will be desperate to have had the opportunity to do ziyarah. And what does the sixth Imam say? May Allah bless the cheeks that place themselves on the grave of Husayn. May Allah bless those faces that are burnt under the sun because of the ziyarah of Husayn. May Allah bless those eyes that shed the tears for Husayn. May Allah bless those mouths and those hearts that scream the name of Husayn. This is sixth Imam in a famous tradition of Muawiyah bin Wahab, isn't it? Because there is an opportunity here. There is a great chance for change here. What do we mean? When it comes to emotional aspects, that's why the Ahlul Bayt have said, come for Aza, cry, weep, crying. Man baka wa abka wa tabaka falahul jannah. Narration, so many, Kamil al-Ziyarat, other books. If you cry and you make others cry, or you pretend to cry in agony, Jannah is for you. Because this shedding of the tears change lives. It purifies your hearts. Today science has shown that when you and I cry because of emotion, it cleanses us. It's important for our health and well-being. Imagine when we connect to a personality like the Holy Third Imam, how much difference those tears makes in our lives. How much it pushes us towards enlightenment, towards empowerment, towards a better life, isn't it? That's number two. Number three, human beings work towards role models. When we seek to emulate the wonderful personality of Husayn ibn Ali and his family members and his companions, we have exemplars who we wish to what? To follow in their footsteps. When I come to listen and to mourn about Abdullah al-Husayn, the principles that we stood for are a great inspiration for you and I to make that difference in my life and the lives of others. That is why we are told that the cry of Husayn, هل من ناصر ينصرنا, and the cry of Zainab, هل من معين, is there a person to help us, still reverberates around the world. Husayn, when he said هل من ناصر ينصرنا, he's speaking to you and I. If I'm not willing to change, I'm not responding to Aba Abdullah. When I say لبيك يا Husayn, I'm saying يا Husayn, I want to change. When I strike my hands on my chest, when I weep and cry, when I walk for ziyarah, when I walk to the majlis, it is saying, Ya Aba Abdullah, help me so that I become a better person. The cause of Husayn still matters today. It has not ended. It is directed to you and I for making that all important, distinguished improvement in our lives. And you know, on the eve of Ashura, our hearts go to Karbala. Let us speak to Aba Abdullah. We say to him, Sayyidi ya Husayn, on the day of Qiyamah, we beg you, hold our hands, because it is these hands that have struck our chests in mourning for you. Sayyidi ya Husayn, allow us on the day of Qiyamah to look at you, because it is these eyes that have wept over your tragedy. Sayyidi ya Husayn, on the day of judgment, help us to be on the sirat towards Jannah and our feet to be firm, because these same feet we have used to come for your ziyarah and your majalis. Sayyidi ya Husayn, on the day of Qiyamah, allow our hearts to be connected to you, because these same hearts are in anguish over your musibah. Sayyidi ya Hussein. Allow us in dunya to use our tongues to call out the name of Allah, because these same tongues have been calling out your name. Aba Abdullah and everyone around him from his family and companions were brilliant examples that you and I can take. But I ask you, each and every one of them, from his family members, when they came to bid farewell to Imam, Imam would ask them to return. Imam would ask them to reconsider. But there was one man who emerged on the day of Ashura. This young man, he came forward. He is the son of Imam al-Hussein, Ali al-Akbar. When he came forward, yes, the narrations tell us that because he had recited the adhan in the morning, people admired his beautiful voice. People recognized that he reminded them of the Messenger of Allah. When he came forward, the first from Bani Hashim to seek permission, the narrations tell us that Imam al-Hussein looked at his son Ali al-Akbar. No father should ever see his son going and not coming back. No father would have to feel that I'm going to live and my son is going to die. That is why Hussein, when he saw Ali al-Akbar, he didn't say anything. Then he gestured towards his son. Then he said to him, Bunay Ali, ilayya ilay. My son Ali, I want you to do one thing for me. Come next to me so that I hug you and you hug me. I want to bid farewell to you. Ashummuka wa tashummuni. I want to smell your fragrance and you smell mine. But the historians say when they hugged each other, they both fell unconscious on the ground. This is the wada'. This is the farewell. Ali al-Akbar moves towards the battlefield. Imam al-Hussein is watching him. May Allah, have this strength, give us this strength. And indeed, on a night like this, give support to the heart of Imam Sahib al-Asr wal-Zaman. Yes. Our hearts are in Karbala with the millions who are mourning the tragedy of Hussein on a night like this. When Ali al-Akbar moved towards the battlefield, he recited lines of poetry. أنا علي بن الحسين بن علي آليت أن لا أنفني أضربكم بالسيف حتى ينحني ضرب غلام هاشمي علوي. I am Ali, the son of Hussein, the son of Ali. He was proud, mentioning his grandfather Ali ibn Abi Talib. I will fight until my sword is bent, defending my father and the sacredness of my family. The religion of Islam I will never abandon. Ali ibn al-Hussein fought and fought. According to some narrations, his mother Layla was on the plains of Karbala. And you know, the mother is always thinking about the son. The mother is wondering how the son is faring. The mother is worried about the fate of the son. The narration says she would look at the face of Hussein to see whether any harm had fallen on towards her son Ali al-Akbar. All of a sudden the face of Hussein changed. She called out, Aba Abdullah, I beg you, has anything happened to my Ali? Tell me. Hussein ibn Ali, Imam alayhi salam said, no, but there is a man whom I am afraid will hurt him, who I am afraid will injure him, has come to fight him. Oh Layla, the mother's dua is answered by Allah. If you want to see your son again, go and pray, go and supplicate to Allah. Allah does not hold back from answering the dua of the mother. We have mothers today, yes, in the majlis, yes, these blessed mothers, yes, don't forget these moments of dua. And Layla goes, sits on the prayer mat. She looks towards the heavens. She takes off her hijab. She cries. Do you know what she says? She says a dua that breaks the heart. She says, Ilahi bi gharbati Aba Abdullah. Ilahi, awrad Yusuf to Yaqub. Ya Allah, Hussein is alone on the plains of Karbala. I wonder why Layla starts with this. I wonder why Layla begins with the fact that Hussein is ghareeb. Hussein is ghareeb on the plains of Karbala. I ask you, Ya Allah, you returned Yusuf to Yaqub. Return me back my son Ali. Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam sees his son Ali al-Akbar return. He killed that enemy combatant. When Ali al-Akbar returns, he looks at his father. Imam looks at him. One narration says, Ali al-Akbar says, Father Hussein, the weight of the armor is killing me. The burden of the thirst is indeed heavy for me. هل لي من شربة ماء? Is there any water? Imam alayhi salam in one narration says, my son Ali, come next to me. He says, why, father? He says, I want you to take any saliva from my mouth. I want you to take any wetness from my mouth. Ali al-Akbar cries. He says, Father Hussein, Wallah, your mouth is drier than mine. Wallah, father, where shall I take the saliva? And you are more thirsty than I. He says, my son Ali, your mother is waiting for you. Go and bid farewell to her. Ali al-Akbar goes to the tent. He finds his mother Layla there, unconscious. He sits next to her. He begins to cry. The tears fall on the cheeks of Layla. She wakes up. Oh, my son Ali, is that you? Has my dua been answered? Oh, my son Ali, I want you to do one thing for me. He says, Mother Layla, what do you want me to do? She says, Ali, stand up before me and allow my eyes to see you. That's all I want. I ask, why Layla? Why do you want to look at Ali? She knows in a few moments she will see the body of Ali torn into pieces. She wants to see Ali al-Akbar in one piece. Ali al-Akbar charges towards the battlefield, fights like a lion of Allah. All of a sudden a man comes forward and says, I will make his father mourn for him. They said, what you going to do? He said, I will strike him. Whilst Ali al-Akbar was engaged in the war, in the fighting of the enemies, this man struck Ali al-Akbar on his head. The sword split Ali al-Akbar's head. He fell onto the horse. The blood poured from the blood. It covered the horse's face. Instead of taking him to Abu Abdullah, the horse took him towards the direction of the enemies. They all gathered around Ali al-Akbar. A man stabbed him on his back. A third stabbed him using a sword. Another man threw a rock on him. A third person used a spear on him. Ali al-Akbar fell onto the ground. He called, alayka minni salam, ya Aba Abdullah. Imam al-Hussein, when he moved towards the plains of Karbala, where Ali al-Akbar was, one narration says he moved the wrong direction. He moved totally the opposite side. His daughter Sukaina said, Father, father, I heard Ali come from this way. He said, oh my daughter, don't blame me. I have just heard my son Ali ask for my help. I have just heard he had fallen onto the ground. The poet says, whilst walking towards Ali al-Akbar, Imam al-Hussein looked towards Najaf. He said, Father Ali, you had to lift the gates of Khaybar, but you never had to lift the body of your son. He sits next to Ali al-Akbar. Ajarakumullah. He looks at Ali al-Akbar. What side did Imam al-Hussein see of Ali al-Akbar? Wallahi, breaks the heart. What did he see? How many stab wounds? How many body parts torn into pieces? His head split into two. But Ali al-Akbar was still alive. He still had a few more seconds of his life. Imam speaks to him. Says, Bunay Ali, ala dunya ba'daka العفا. Oh my son Ali, what is the worth of dunya? Living after you. How difficult is it for your father to hear your cries but does not support you, and to see you in this state? At that moment, Imam al-Hussein saw Ali al-Akbar. He was smiling at one instance, and he saw them in distress at another. He said to him, my son Ali, why is it that I see you smiling at one instance and distressed at the other? He said, my father Hussein, oh Hussein, on my right I see my grandfather Rasulullah. He has quenched my thirst from the pond of Kawthar. But on my left I see my grandmother Fatima. She is slapping her cheeks. She is crying, Wa Hussein. She is crying, Wa Mazloom. Wa Gharib.